Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, ranging from bestsellers to celebrity memoirs, news, business, and self-development. Every month, members get 1 credit to pick any title, plus 2 Audible originals from a monthly selection, and access to daily news digests from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post, as well as guided meditation programs. Between a full-time job in IT and a full-time job in podcasting, it gets harder and harder to sit down and read the books I'm interested in. This is where Audible comes in. I can listen on my daily commute, relaxing, or while out running errands and still get in the books I've been wanting to get into. You can download titles and listen offline anytime, anywhere. The app is free and can be installed on all smartphones and tablets. Now you can try Audible risk-free with a special 30-day free trial by visiting audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. That's audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. Don't let your busy life get in the way of that great book you've been wanting to read. Go get your free trial of Audible today. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. This is Geoffrey, and we've talked about many times before that I experience problems and struggles with my mental health, and really without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy does work. It's helped for me, but what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, or you're not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's really time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles, and it's time to start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is a customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. So join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And there's a special offer to Nerdery and Murdery listeners. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. That's betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast.
So how did you convince him to come on?
What are you talking about? Who are you talking about?
Dude, he's on.
What are you talking about?
Chipwich, he's on.
God.
Hello, I'm right here. I can hear you.
All right, welcome to episode 120 of Nerdery and Murdery.
Holy shit, has it been that many?
Yeah. Yep.
Damn. You guys are machines.
Well, thank you, sir.
Zig, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your murdery. We have Guestery returned this week. We've got Keith, our good friend who's been with us before for a few episodes, and he's returning for another special episode. Welcome to the house.
I am a meat popsicle.
Thank you, sir.
Well, I know those of you listening in the past, but hey, for me, it's still fresh. My Texas Rangers, the World Series champions. I love it.
Woo.
Been waiting a long time for that one. Watched damn near every inning of the World Series, and it was just incredible. It was a lot of fun. Blast to watch.
I'm afraid because I think it's a sign of the apocalypse.
Nah. I mean, you know, it can't hurt when you have the third highest payroll in baseball.
That's true.
You think there's a correlation there?
Yeah.
In this case, does correlation cause mean causation?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. If you watch the movie Moneyball, that'll tell you differently that you can win on a lower payroll, but it certainly doesn't help.
I recommend that movie to anyone, even if you're not a sports fan, because it's just an excellent movie.
Oh yeah, it's
Agreed.
outstanding. I actually watched it less than a month ago for the first time. It was really good. I enjoyed it. So, total blast to watch. And Keith left the room.
Where'd he go?
Here, I hear you.
Left the room right in the middle of the show.
Meh.
What a maroon.
What a
Hang on,
nincow
getting
poop.
coffee. You guys never have to go get coffee?
Yeah, we always have it ready.
Well, mine's ready. It's just ready in the kitchen.
Right on. Well, it is just right there. So
Yeah, that's right. I back to living in a bachelor pad where, the kitchen is, 10 feet from me sitting in the living room.
All right. Mine's downstairs, so I'd have to go a lot farther away. So
yeah, it's back there.
yeah. All right. Well, that's all I have going. So Zig, if you want, why don't you take over the nerdy side of the house?
Okay. The reason that we have a guest star on this episode is because we are talking about the game Diplomacy.
Yeah, and when Zig told me that's what he was going to do, I'm like, wait, hold on, we got to get Keith on for this one.
Yeah. We moved the episode back and the other one forward. Just like, okay, yeah. We need to do this. Get Keith on because Keith is really, really good at this game. And
I'm
I know
not.
he stomped a mud hole in my ass a couple of times playing it.
This is one of those, just like Conquest of the Empire that we covered many episodes ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an army builder. You really can't build up armies, and that's hard for me to switch gears on.
Yeah, you can only have one unit in per territory.
Yeah.
So it's all about applying leverage. How many units can you or your ally get in adjacent territories to force somebody out of an adjacent spot?
Right.
Exactly correct. A little background. Diplomacy is a strategy board game created by Alan B. Kalhammer in 1954 and released commercially in the United States in 1959. Its main distinction from most board games are its negotiation phases. Players spend much of their time forming and betraying alliances with other players and forming beneficial strategies. And the absence of dice and other game elements that produce random effects. Set in Europe in the years leading to the First World War, Diplomacy is played by 2 to 7 players, each controlling the armed forces of a major European power, or with fewer players, multiple powers. Each player aims to move their few starting units and defeat those others to win possession of a majority of strategic cities and provinces marked as supply centers. On the map, these supply centers allow players who control them to produce more units and then executed during the movement phase. A player takes control of a province when the number of provinces that are given order to support the attacking province exceeds the number of provinces given orders to support the defending province. Now, how that breaks down is essentially, and I've included pictures of the map. Every power starts with 3 units. I think Russia starts with 4 because it's got such a vast territory. Only 1 unit can exist in a province at a time. So it's about if someone's got a unit in a province and you've got a unit in a province and you attack, nothing happens. You have to have numerical superiority. But since you only have 3, you have to make alliances and things of that nature. And the combat all happens at the same time. You write down what you're going to do.
The turns happen all at the same time.
Yes. Yeah. The idea for diplomacy rose from Alan Kalhammer's study at Harvard of 19th century European history under Sidney B. Fay, and from his study of political geography. Kalhammer also drew inspiration from the card game of Hearts, in which he observed that the players were at an advantage when they teamed up against the leader, and from the game of chess, which inspired him to use a limited number of spaces and pieces. The rough form of diplomacy was created in 54, and details were developed through playtesting until the 58 map and rules revision. Callhammer paid for a 500 game print run of the version in 59 after rejection by major companies. It has been published since then by Games Research in 61, and then a 71 edition with a revised rulebook, Avalon Hill in 76, and by Hasbro's Avalon Hill division in 1999, now owned by Wizards of the Coast.
So I was just looking. Apparently, the box I'm holding here is did you say 71 or 76 for Avalon Hill?
76.
Okay. So yeah, that tracks.
Oh, hold it up to the camera. Let's take a look.
So, okay, hang on. I'm going to take some pictures of this, by the way.
Yeah, we'll make some TikTok reels on it.
Yeah. Try to get it all in the frame.
Very nice.
So this is and this version has a little bit of history, right?
So,
please.
So I went to go visit after graduating high school. I went back to visit my old history teacher. Love that guy. He's unfortunately he's unfortunately passed now, but I went to visit him, and he was just on his way to the teacher's lounge to run some copies or whatnot, blah blah blah. And we're in there, and there's a whole bunch of stuff on the shelf, and I see a diplomacy up there, and I'm like, oh my God, is that game that Keith always talks about? And I called Keith up and told him about it. And he goes, yeah, that is. And I totally need that. And I turned to Mr. Housewright and I said, hey, do you think the school needs this game at all? And he goes, yeah, no, take it. And completely took it from the school.
So it was diplomacy and not Conquest of the Empire, because we had a debate on that, which one it was.
But it was diplomacy.
Yeah. So from my end, it was like, I had no idea. So first of all, I should back up and say, Jeff and I went to the same high school. I was a year ahead of him in class. I probably remember the names of like 3 teachers from Southwest High School from, 30, 35 years ago. And Housewright is one of them, despite the fact that I never had him as a teacher, because Geoffrey would never shut up about this.
Housewright was awesome.
Yeah, he was. He was a great teacher. Everybody who had him loved him. I had his colleague, Mr. Hoffpower, who was also a very interesting individual and a great history teacher. But he didn't inspire the cult-like fanaticism that Housewright seemed to have. But yeah, so why I remember Housewright, and I can hardly remember any of my own teachers over that 4 years of going to that school, is an enduring mystery to me. But there you go. Jeff calls me up. He's like, "Hey, I'm looking. I believe what you said to me. Hey, you know what I'm looking at?"
That sounds about right.
And I was like, "Should I?" And what's funny, what's happening right now is, in my mind, you're standing in that supply closet talking on a cell phone, which I know couldn't actually be true.
Nope. Using the school phone.
Yeah.
Didn't have cell phone back then.
Yeah. So maybe, unless there was a phone that stretched to that supply room, maybe you didn't actually say, "Hey, you know what I'm looking at?" But that's how it goes in my mind.
Nope. There was a phone in there.
Nice.
And I'm like, I had, this was one of those context-free questions, right? Where you pick up the phone, you have no idea what the other person on the person on the other end of the line is doing. I'm like, I'm hoping it's not your dick. Okay, what is it? And so it's diplomacy, and I'm like, really? Yeah. What's interesting about this, though, is that I can't recall. I don't know. I either Dale or Berg must have had a copy of this game, because I don't know how I would have known about it prior to, getting this copy from the school, from the history supply closet at Southwest High School.
I'm going to say it was Berg because when we played with him, that was just with him and his frat brothers at that frat house on UTA's campus.
Oh, shit! Wow, I didn't even remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because that game of diplomacy is one of the two times that Eric Berg has ruined a game for me.
Yeah. Well, we've played it 3 or 4 times, so I didn't remember if it was that time.
Yeah.
Oh wait, only 2 games? I can
Yep.
think of at least 3.
Nope, that and Risk.
What about the one with the sliding resources? Supremacy.
Supremacy.
I didn't play Supremacy with him.
Oh, okay. I like the way you said that.
Now, if you'll remember, you, me, Don, and Dale Stinson loaded up into a car and all went to go find Eric Berg's house and played Supremacy in his garage.
That's right, in his garage, because that was at that time I must have had the mega map, and that was the only way. There was no surface in his house, clear surface, I should probably say, that big enough to hold that map. So yeah, we played it on the floor in the garage, which, oh my God, it's so good to be young. I miss being young. Can you think about doing that now? Can you imagine?
Dude, we ran a 12-hour. We stopped for a lunch and dinner break.
Yeah, I was going to say it had to be 10, 12 hours, probably in warm weather.
Yeah, it was
on
nice.
on the concrete floor in a garage, and we played the shit out of that game. And it's like, I can't imagine doing that today any more than I can imagine, wings sprouting out of my ass and flying to Mars,
Oh, hell no. Are you kidding me? I played 18 holes of golf yesterday, and I am sore beyond belief.
I bet. How's your golf game progressing?
Terrible. It's shitty. But however, as would happen, because this is going to sound like a complete lie and fabrication, but Chelsea started not feeling well on about hole 6 or 7 yesterday. And so I took her home, but I wanted to go finish playing because I was actually doing decent. And so I went back out and just had the game of my life.
Nice.
Things were going well. I was hitting some booming shots. On 18, I just shot this drive from hell that just landed dead center in the middle of the fairway. Probably the best shot I've ever had. And it's just like, and nobody is here to see it.
And naturally, nobody was there to see it. Isn't that always the way?
Yes. I had this one shot. There's 2 holes that has this giant ditch in the middle of it. You can't drive your cart down into it. If you go into it, you have to walk. And I hit a drive and it went right and it bounced, and I saw it on the edge of the ravine and then down it went.
Yeah. Ooh. So I have to point something out here because this is classic behavior for the three of us for decades of hanging out. But I don't know if this is how you want it to work on your show. In the span of about the last 5 minutes, we've gone from diplomacy to house right to Eric Berg to golf, and we are no longer even in the same zip code as the topic at hand.
God,
is that okay?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We had a crossover.
People love it.
we had a crossover we did just recently with Two Geeks and a Microphone, and we were talking about Darth Bane and Darth Xana, and that digressed into Ray Bradbury books, into Robert Heinlein, into Orson Scott Card, into Asimov, and
you derailed that show like 3 times.
Into Larry Niven. It went all over the place.
It was nice.
Okay.
All right, introduce them to the window of opportunity. So I'm going to take that right now.
Here we are.
Diplomacy differs from the majority of war games because players do not take turns sequentially. Instead, all players secretly write down their moves after a negotiated period, when all the moves are revealed and put into effect simultaneously. Social interaction and interpersonal skills make up essential parts of the play. The rules that simulate combat are strategic, abstract, and simple, not tactile, realistic, or complex. As this is a diplomatic simulation game, not a military one. Combat resolutions contain no random elements. No dice are rolled or cards are drawn. Each military unit has the exact same strength. It is especially well suited to postal play, which led to an active hobby of amateur publishing.
It's actually the first commercially published game that went to play by mail.
Yes. Land and sea power almost equally significant, and a player's decision as to whether to raise an army or a fleet is highly significant. Diplomacy also proceeds by seasons, beginning in the year 1901, with each year divided into two main seasons, the spring and fall moves. Each season is further divided into negotiation and movement phases, followed by retreat or disband adjustments, and at the end of the year, winter phase of new builds or removals following the fall adjustments. That's it. I just wanted to get some of that out of there. Now we could talk about diplomacy.
Well, I just wanted to point out that, to me, I'm guessing to most of the folks who are listening to your show who are casual gamers are probably not used to playing any kind of game that doesn't have any sort of random element, right? No dice, no cards to pull, nothing, right? And I think that that's what sets diplomacy aside. And incidentally, it's what makes it take so fucking long.
Yes, it does.
Is that you can't do anything, almost nothing, without the help of somebody else, right? This is why it's called diplomacy, of course, and this is why it is considered like a teaching aid and not just a game, which is why there was a copy of it at the school, which Geoffrey subsequently yoinked for me because he's my best buddy.
There's also a copy at the White House. They played it during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah,
I did not know that
really happened. Can you imagine? And here are the players: John and Bobby, LBJ, and Bob McNamara.
Okay, so you know how every once in a while you'll get that little hypothetical situation question where it'll be like, if somebody, if you could go to dinner with any four people from history, blah, 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 this is my new answer. Is that I want to be in the room.
Yeah. From what I understand,
that game.
LBJ used to wipe the floor with him because, he was in the Senate for 50 years. So
yeah, of course. Man, that's awesome. No, I had no idea. That's a great bit of trivia.
Yeah, the copy stayed, and Kissinger was a big proponent of it, and he played a lot with his because it was in the White House library, whatever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but fuck Kissinger.
Yeah, he played a lot with his staff.
Anyway, so yeah, I think that was when you were giving your summary kind of at the top. I think you might have mentioned that, what sets it apart. And this is true, the limited number of units, the fact that you can, that you can't produce as many units as you want. You can only have one unit per square.
That's right.
I think that those are all important elements, but there are lots of games that still have like a random element that, I think Catan is that way, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody knows Catan, everybody likes Catan, but you've still got that randomization element of how the tiles are placed and what resources you pull.
Yeah, and you still got to roll the dice to see what resource comes out or if the robber comes out.
Yeah, and diplomacy's got none of that.
None of it.
And to me, that's what really sets that game apart is that knowledge that luck is not going to help me in any way in this game. Right. There. No, random number Jesus is coming to your rescue.
Random number Jesus. Yeah, a dice roll ain't gonna save your army.
Yeah.
Well, and the other element of it is you have the secret negotiations that go on, and you can completely fuck somebody in that.
Yes,
too.
You can.
Well, not only can you, it's a prerogative. Not a prerogative; it's an imperative.
You have to.
Where sooner or later, if you want to win this game, you're going to have to fuck your best friend. Right. It's the only way to win, and do you remember what we had to do? Oh my God. You think that Bennigan's timer is still in this box?
I don't know.
Oh yeah. We had to put it on a timer for the negotiation.
Oh shit. No, it's not here. Yeah. So we had to set a timer, which if you remember, the timer was at one time when we were waiting tables at Bennigan, they had some 15-minute or it's free promotion. and that came with a stopwatch that you put on the table. You remember that, Jeff? Or was that
Oh yeah.
time?
No, I remember that.
Yeah. So I swiped one of those stopwatches, and that's what we used in the game. And there was like the 15-minute. It was pre-programmed so that you didn't have to dick around with it a whole lot at the table or whatever. It only ran down from 15, and then when it reached 0, it would go beep 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 beep. Whatever. So that was our turn limit. That was our little hourglass. Because otherwise, there are some people who would argue about a turn, argue about an alliance, argue about the strategy for, God knows how long before, and you would never finish the game. So we had to institute a house rule that negotiations were over in 15 minutes.
Yeah, a lot of people have instituted that house rule. Some of my notes, it's like, a lot of people keep a house rule of negotiations can only last so long because essentially that's what the game is about. It's called diplomacy. It's about making deals and getting set up and getting
as opposed to Risk, the game of world conquest.
That's right. Where you have to look at the box and go, what is this game called again? Oh yeah, World Conquest. I'm coming after you, buddy.
Yes. So the subheading on diplomacy, as opposed to being the game of world conquest, diplomacy is the exciting game of international intrigue.
We're talking about this game, and these people are listening thinking, I don't see how that can be exciting. You have no idea. Friendships have ended because of this game.
Games have been ruined because of this game.
Yes. It has broken up marriages. I can remember yelling at both Geoffrey and Keith on one particular game, and who I was really mad at was Don.
So why were you taking it out on us?
Because he wasn't in the room at the time.
Well, there have been multiple times that Zig has yelled at us because of how we treated him on games. So,
well, that's certainly true.
Intentionally lose a game just to fuck him.
Oh God! Oh my God! Oh, that made me sick.
No. This is all tit for tat. This is well deserved. Because how many times has Zig gotten bored in a game and just suicided into whoever was next to him?
Yep.
And fucked their game?
Yep.
It's true. I'm bored.
I'm going to stir some shit up. Dude, I'm just about to make the winning play here. No, you're not. Now you're going to get your ass kicked by me from behind.
He's done that so many times in Zombies.
But you can't really do that in this game.
No.
That's one of the reasons why I like it.
Yeah. It's basically impossible to accrue enough power by yourself to just unilaterally make moves and take over the board.
Yeah, you have to make deals. You have to make deals with your neighbor next to you against another neighbor that you both border, so you could take over more territories. And the thing is, the fewer territories you've got, the less pieces you've got. So you're only allowed a unit per resource center.
Right.
And you could pick which one that is. Well, not at the start of the game, but you could pick which one that is.
You're
it's
here.
going to be
Can
sea
you do
power.
the
And the
thing
thing about
just
it
one
is,
time for me?
the land power can attack.
What thing?
Oh shit! Which thing? I
do
lots of things.
To a coastal area. Can you do the
Sea power
noise
can
just one
attack
time, please?
also to a
Oh yeah,
coastal
well,
area.
but this is the
Land
wrong
power can
game.
only make it
You know,
Yeah.
when you've only got 3 units in a game, you can't.
Doesn't fit here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Plus, it's really the visual is what makes. And you and I are on camera together, so you can see me doing the little Fred Flintstone feet with my fingers. But
Oh, we've got some that watch the video because we do
Yeah.
post the videos too.
oh, great. Well, I wish I'd known that before I got on here this morning.
Oh, sorry, you signed the NDA, so.
Do we have an NDA? Never mind. Yeah, you signed the NDA.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
Thank you.
can't do
Thank you
it
very
as well
much.
as they used to.
Everybody,
Yeah.
this is the thing that makes me the happiest with playing with games with Keith. Is when he does the thing. I mean, I can't make the noise.
No, the thing that's
Yeah,
made
neither
Zig
is the
happiest the latest is when I call William a pancake eating motherfucker.
God, I'm gonna die.
Oh,
That chat is never going to see the light of day.
God no. The chat between William and Zig and I throughout the week is just awful.
Yeah, it's terrible. Also, there's a lot of work. Hey, yeah, we got this processed. Yeah, we've already looked at it. I've loaded it up. It's in the folder. Blah blah blah. I'm going to go ahead and make a TikTok, and then some really really awful things.
Yeah, then it just evolves.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I probably ought to mention this. After each fall move, newly acquired supply centers become owned by the occupying player, and each power supply center total is recalculated. Players with fewer supply centers than units on the board must disband units, while players with more supply centers than units on the board aren't entitled to build units in their open, unoccupied home centers. Supply centers controlled at the start of the game. Players who have lost all of their home centers may not build new units, while players controlling no supply centers are eliminated from the game. If a player controls 18 or more of the 34 supply centers at the end of the year, they are the winner. Players who remain may also agree to a draw. Around half of all games will end with this draw.
That's like, in Fortress America, 18 cities to win?
That's correct.
Wow, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, again, out of a number that may be 34.
Yeah,
I think that's correct.
Very interesting.
Yeah, if you control half the country, you win in Fortress America.
Right. Another episode that we covered.
Yes.
Way back when. That was one of our first few.
Yeah. I think we did Fortress America on episode 2 or 3, something like that.
And you've also done one on Shogun, right?
Yes. We've done one on Shogun.
So formerly Samurai Swords.
Yeah.
What it says on the box that I have.
Ikusa.
The one we haven't done that is another one I said you have to be on is Axis and Allies.
Sure. I was just coming up to that, is that we need to plan a good Axis and Allies episode. You know what we need to do? We need to plan a good Axis and Allies game.
Yes.
And then edit that down to a reasonable length for your show. And then that would be like an outstanding, I don't know, a bonus episode, whatever you guys wanted to do.
Fortress America Fortress America was episode 2, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, so
no. Going on what Keith's saying, maybe he's right. Maybe if we could find a way to put a camera on top of a table.
We've talked about it before.
Yeah, and just roll it, and we could cut it down like it'd be a lot of editing, but we could cut it down like a tabletop episode.
Yeah.
That'd be great. I'd love to do that. With any of these old games that we talk about, really. I don't even care which one. Except it would be exceedingly hard to do that with diplomacy. I do not suggest that one.
I don't want to play diplomacy again.
And there's that. It can't be diplomacy. It can't be risk.
That's right.
So, okay, question for you. Do you ever talk about, does the name Eric Berg ever come up in any episode that I'm not on?
Not where you're not mentioned. So if we mention Berg, you get mentioned as well.
No, I don't think so. I think when we covered Risk, it may have just been Berg by himself.
Was it?
May have been.
That is distinctly possible.
I'm just curious. I'm wondering, of your regular fans and listeners, who of them may be familiar with the saga of Eric Berg, the tale of Eric Berg.
We know that how did Geoffrey put it? He tortured him when they were playing games.
Oh, but I mean, that description doesn't begin to cover.
No.
You need to talk about this now, sir.
Well, it's just Berg was not only good at strategy games.
He was very good. Played with him a few times.
Very good.
Very, very good.
It was brutal, and then he would make fun of you for how badly you were getting beaten. The whole time.
Yep.
Do you know that he made Roger stop playing games entirely because he wouldn't stop calling Roger his little dewdrop?
Yeah, Berg has that effect for being able to ruin games for people.
And it's not just that he's a raging asshole.
He's not. He is not.
It's like it's funny while he's doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's yeah. And he is otherwise, he's like, he's a fun, gregarious, charming guy. It's just that when he's in that, I will, I must kill you, what's the old Conan quote, drive my enemies before me, hear the lamentations of their women.
Yes.
It's like he gets into that mindset, and it's all fair game,
And he's just merciless with it.
Yeah, the psychological, I guess what I'm trying to say is the psychological level that he brings to the table is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And he's really good too. But we keep harping on that.
He's really good. Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, because it's like the psyops effect wouldn't work if he wasn't already either beating your ass or in imminent danger of beating your ass.
Exactly. Because if you just talk smack, it'd be like me. I talk a lot of smack. I rarely ever win these games. Just play and talk smack. I get bored too fast. That's my problem.
Yeah. Zig, you don't ever win. You just make other people lose.
That's it. Now they have produced some variants in Sorry, here we go. They have produced some variants in diplomacy. One is called Machiavelli. Machiavelli was published by Ballantine Publications, which was taken over by Avalon Hill, and it's Renaissance Italy, but it is ostensibly based on diplomacy. Kamakura, which was published by West End Games in the early 80s, it's set in feudal Japan, also based on diplomacy.
So are we talking basically about other games that have just taken basically the same rule set and applied them to a different map?
That is exactly correct.
No, these are diplomacy variants, just like risk variants.
Right, but in risk variants, you see a bunch of different rules more than you see a different map, right?
That's true.
Yeah, you basically, in Machiavelli, in Kamakura, and colonial diplomacy, you get basically a different map.
Yeah.
Colonial diplomacy is centered more on Asia.
I don't know, Geoffrey. You're probably more correct than I am. I know that there's 1,000 risk variants out there now, and I'm sure that they each have a unique map. But the only couple that I've ever played, the main addition was some additional rule that set it apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think like Godstorm has some additional rules that really change the game.
Yeah.
Or Godsmack.
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 I think the only ones that I've ever played, or that I can recall playing offhand, are the Lord of the Rings and the one that's set in the future with mechs that I can't remember the name. It's 2218 or Risk 22 AD or something like that.
You played the Clone Wars one with us.
Oh, did I? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep, there's that. There's the Transformers one.
I don't think I've ever played that one.
I've only played that.
I mean, like I said, I know there's a million of them. I can't remember which I've played, but in the two that I'm thinking of, I think the main difference in mechanics
2210 was it's Risk 2210. I had to go.
Okay, thank you. I was close. Is that there's like a timetable. There's a time limit, right? I think that in 2218, you've just got like 5 turns, and at the end of 5 turns, the game's over, and whoever controls the most territory wins.
That is correct.
Yeah, and the Clone Wars one, you pretty much have to win before Order 66 is called, or it's over.
Yeah. Right, and I do remember playing that now. Maybe I'm confusing that mechanic with the Lord of the Ring ones, which I thought was you have to do something in a certain amount of turns, or Sauron wins.
Yeah,
I think
Probably.
that is correct.
probably.
Yeah, I think that is correct.
So, which I think that's a good addition to, Risk in general, because Risk has the tendency to just go on and on and on and on too long.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
sure, sure.
You know,
Most assuredly so.
yeah. So, improvements.
Well, kids, that's about all my notes for diplomacy. If you guys want to move over to the murdery side of the house.
I personally do not, but I understand
not?
that's the format. So,
Yes, that is our format.
It is true. Keith, thank you for your insight on the game.
You're welcome. I'm not sure how insightful it was, but I'm just happy to be
No. We got some gold there, man.
I'm happy to be on the mic with you guys, just hanging out. I miss it.
Well, awesome. Then with that, we will step over to the murder side of the house.
Murder.
I can still stay on and contribute my 2 cents worth, right?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. For today, I got my information on it. It's Crime O'Clock Somewhere, The Cinemaholic, Investigation, Discovery, and Criminal. And this is the story of Jodi LeAnn Sanderholm.
Jodi LeAnn Sanderholm.
Sure. So Jodi LeAnn Sanderholm was only 19 when she died. She was the perfect child in her parents' eyes. She was the youngest child and her mother's best friend. She had been the valedictorian at her high school and was attending Cowley College in Arkansas City, Kansas. Her high school dance team, the Purple Paws, performed at football game halftime shows and during basketball games. Dance is where she met her best friend Lori, and the pair were inseparable from that moment on. Jodi became the team captain during her junior year. Excuse me. And at the end of her senior year, she and Lori moved away onto Cowley College. Jodi had a passion for dance and was on the Cowley College Tigerettes dance team. And not only was Jodi a Kansas State scholar, but she was also an instructor at Ark City Dance and Universal Dance Association. Her mother once said that Jodi could steal the show without even trying. She was very close to her family and was living with her parents while she was attending school. And at 19, she was a hardworking and ambitious teen who managed to juggle her family, relationship, education, and extracurricular activities almost effortlessly. During Christmas break of 2007, Jodi was on edge at the time because she had a big performance coming up. She was nervous because she choreographed the performance herself and wanted it to be perfect. But sinister events started to happen to her and other young girls around campus. Jodi started receiving a lot of hang-up calls. And on the campus parking lot, female students were reporting slashed tires and keyed cars. One time, as Jodi's best friend was driving home from practice, she noticed a car following closely behind her. She stayed in her car and she drove to the police station. And while sitting in her car, she contemplated if she should get out and file a police report, but the car disappeared into the night. So she left without filing a report. Forgetting about the incident, the ladies continued going to their practice and on with their lives. And on their usual walk to the parking lot from dance practice, there was a car that drove up, and her best friend and Jodi's best friend looked inside, and she's shocked to see that it was the same car that had followed her previously. She did get a good look at him, and he looked familiar, and realized that he was Justin Thurber. Justin was known around the community and hung out with an older crowd. And as Justin drove off, Jodi's friend walked to her car and found that her car tires had been slashed. A good-hearted stranger did walk up and helped her repair the tire. But angry, Jodi's friend called her to tell her what happened with the tire, and that she and the stranger were unable to get an answer as to who did it. But as they were starting to put the pieces together, she just had a gut feeling that it was Justin Thurber who had done this. On January 5th, 2007, Jodi went to her dance practice at the college in the morning. Her practice ended at around 10:45, but no one had seen or heard from her after she left. Her mom, Cindy, said that Jodi had a routine after practice. She usually got the mail, ate lunch, and took a shower. Cindy and Jodi's sister, Jennifer, both tried contacting Jodi, but there was no answer. Jennifer was expecting a baby and knew Jodi wouldn't miss her calls, especially as she went into labor. And Cindy had said that she just had a bad gut feeling, so she left work early. When she got home, they did find that Jodi's car was missing and there was no mail on the counter, which they would normally expect. Cindy and Jodi's dad, Brian, contacted all of her friends, but no one had seen her since she left the dance practice. And they also learned that Jodi hadn't shown up for a meeting that she had at noon that day. Around 6, Cindy and Brian contacted the Arkansas City Police to report their daughter missing, and a hunt for the teen immediately ensued with the help of cell phone tower pings. Officials determined that she had been near the border of Oklahoma and Kansas. Officers initially responded to the Sanderholm home, where they noted that nothing appeared out of place in Jodi's room. The shower was dry, implying that she had never made it home as she had usually planned. Word of Jodi's disappearance started spreading throughout the town, and everybody began looking for her. Her parents and friends combed the town, and patrol officers were told to be on the lookout, and missing person flyers appeared in shop windows across Arkansas City. The chief of police, Sean Wallace, and Lieutenant Mark McCaslin went to speak with Jodi's parents, and they learned from them that Jodi had a boyfriend named David. They made contact with David, but he had been visiting with his brother in Dallas, and he had agreed to return to Arkansas City as soon as possible. Police also spoke with Jodi's dance friends and asked if they had noticed anyone suspicious trying to hang out with Jodi or the college, and they all did say there was a man named Justin Thurber who had watched them in the parking lot. Along with several other members of the dance team, Jodi was also being stalked and harassed in a myriad of distinctive ways for no reason with those phone calls and the slash tires that we had talked about previously. So Justin Thurber was 23 years old. He worked at a local sandwich shop and had previous arrests for petty theft and other nonviolent charges. The police went to speak with him on the evening of January 5th, and Justin told police that he had been picked up by his dad that day near the Cowley County State Lake. He said he had been with 3 friends on a road trip, but his car got stuck in the mud. But he parted ways with his friends after his car got stuck. Police were still on the lookout, but they had had no luck in locating Jodi or her black Stratus. Jodi's dad, Brian, contacted several local Kansas news stations to get the news out about his daughter's disappearance. And on January 6th, Special Agent David Folletti with the Kansas Bureau of Investigation joined the investigation. Special Agent Folletti spoke with David, her boyfriend, who was generally upset about Jodi's disappearance, but said he hadn't spoken with her since January 4th. They did search David's phone and bank records, but he was eliminated as a suspect as he had been in Dallas like he said he was. Police then started digging further into Justin Thurber's background. They learned from his ex-girlfriend that he liked to spend time in the Kaw Wildlife Area, which was a 4,300-acre area of rugged terrain. She even went on a car ride with one of the detectives and pointed out a boat dock that Justin frequented. And she told police that Justin had mentioned if he killed someone and dumped a body in the area, it would be found. That's not suspicious.
Yeah, that's not suspicious at all. While you're in a car with your girlfriend, if I ever decided to kill and dump a body, I'd dump it out here. I'd never be caught.
Right, never a good sign.
Yeah, no, you go tell somebody about that right then.
The police spoke with the 3 friends that Justin said he had been with, and the 3 friends said they hadn't been with Justin at all that day. They were all eliminated as suspects, as one had an appointment, one was at work, and one had been in Texas. The police knew that Jodi had been last seen on January 5th at 10 a.m. outside the auditorium, and they obtained surveillance footage from the school and were looking for Justin's blue Cadillac. On January 5th, Jodi's black Stratus could be seen leaving the school, followed by a blue Cadillac. And police also saw that Justin had visited the college several days in a row in the days leading up to January 5th. The police did bring Justin into custody because he had been out on bond for petty theft arrest. And he was taken away into custody while he was on his way home with his mom and sister from a bingo game. The Justins did go to Justin's parents' home with a search warrant, and they learned from his dad that Justin had put his clothes in laundry and washed his muddy shoes when they arrived home. The police did confiscate the shoes, clothing, cell phone, and the blue Cadillac. And then on January 7th, 2007, the police went to search the Kaw Wildlife Area. Justin denied being involved in Jodi's disappearance and said he hadn't seen her on January 5th, but police didn't find evidence on Justin's school clothes or in his car. However, there was a shoe print that seemed to match Justin's tennis shoes across the street from the Sanderholm house. The same shoe prints were found at the wildlife area down by the state line about a quarter mile from the boat dock. Local firefighters John and Ron Cannon joined the search at that point. They were search and rescue trackers in their spare time. As trackers, they followed the footprints. They saw a second set of shoe prints, which were smaller from flip-flops. And eventually, police located over 50 shoe prints from Justin, but only 4 from Jodi.
Huh.
The Cannons were driving home after a long day of searching when they came upon a rest area. And on the path leading up to the area, they found dirt transfer. They walked into the bathroom and found mail belonging to the Sanderholms, a flip-flop, and Jodi's Tigerette's jacket. They contacted the police at that point to come search the area, and the other toilets and septic tank were searched. Jodi's wallet, dance shoes, and floor mats, believed to be from Jodi's car, were also found there. On January 8th, Tim Miller and Texas EquuSearch were called in to help. The police believed that Jodi's car was somewhere in the lake. Steve Koch of the KBI Crime Lab was also contacted to examine the shoe prints, and he made casts of the prints from the wildlife path and across the street from Jodi's house. He was able to determine that the shoe prints were a match to Justin's tennis shoes. The casts in Justin's shoes had the same herringbone pattern and horizontal lines. On January 9th, the Cannons were back at it and noticed a disturbed area off the path. They saw a wood pile and a hand sticking out from it. The victim was nude and had been beaten. There were sticks covering the body, and police did believe it was Jodi, and she had probably been sexually assaulted. They ended up doing dental records and did confirm that it was Jodi. She had been strangled, and blunt force trauma was a contributing factor. She'd been hit so hard that it damaged an artery in her neck.
Wow. So she was unrecognizable.
Yep.
Okay.
The medical examiner also did positively determine that Jodi was sexually assaulted.
Okay.
The Texas EquuSearch team was able to locate Jodi's car in the lake, and it was confirmed by her license plate. The car had been in the lake for 4 days. The pressure from the water had forced the sunroof open, and police were nervous that the water would have washed all the evidence away, but they were wrong. Inside, the police found an arm hair that belonged to Justin. Justin's DNA was also found under Jodi's fingernails, and then Justin's cell phone records put him in the area of the state lake and the Kaw wildlife area.
Hold on.
Yeah.
He pushed a car into a lake and didn't roll the windows down?
Or he drove it. Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Kid's a moron. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I can't disagree.
Okay, no, please continue. I'm sorry.
I can't disagree with you on that. It was believed that he had followed Jodi home, that he abducted her while she was getting the mail, forced her into her car, and then drove out to the wildlife area. It was there that it's believed that Justin tortured and killed Jodi and disposed of her car and personal items. Justin was charged with capital murder, attempted rape, aggravated criminal sodomy, and aggravated kidnapping. Justin's trial was delayed many times, but it began on February 2nd, 2009. And the Sanderholms wanted Justin to get the death penalty. I would imagine so. Over 60 witnesses testified about the evidence against Justin. When he stood trial, one of his ex-girlfriends testified that he wanted to indulge in sexually violent act towards the end of the relationship and conceded that he saw the wildlife park as a good place for murder. Moreover, a friend alleged that he had been obsessed with Jodi since he was 13. The trial ended up lasting 7 days, but the jury only deliberated for 3.5 hours. Justin was found guilty on all charges and was sentenced to death in 2009.
3.5 hours, and they had what, like 10 charges against him?
They had a ton. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, they had to go through every charge, vote, and then they ordered lunch. Yeah. That's not long. They already knew when they walked in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I would agree. In the year that followed, he sent a letter to the editor of the Arkansas City Traveler claiming the existence of hidden evidence that would prove his innocence once and for all. He maintained that he had no hand in Jodi's homicide, and Justin has appealed his case on several grounds as well. On July 1st, 2008, Jodi's law was in effect in Kansas, and it allowed police to act earlier in stalking cases. Jodi's law was written to help people who are being stalked to get help from police, and it remains one of the fastest laws ever to go through the state of Kansas. Justin's conviction is being looked into. In 2017, his attorneys had claimed that Justin was developmentally disabled. In 2018, his death sentence was postponed by the Supreme Court. And there was a post-conviction DNA testing that was also in the works, and it was approved by the Supreme Court. Justin is still a convicted killer, but his sentence is still under question right now. While the defense claims that his low IQ eliminates the possibility of the death penalty, the prosecutors reiterated that he graduated high school and even attended college. Until a final decision is made, though, Justin, now at age 38, remains incarcerated at maximum security El Dorado Correctional Facility in Butler County, Kansas. It's really sad, because Jodi, she deserved to go on and dance again, finish college, get a job, get married, etc.
Yeah.
Justin thought he had the right to watch and stalk the dance team. It was just a matter of time before his crimes would escalate. Yeah. And they did.
Yeah, I mean, he got Jodi, but he was probably planning on going back for the rest of them.
Yeah.
Because he thought he'd gotten away with it.
Yeah.
Oh, I disposed of her out here. No, everybody knew your name, dude.
Well,
they were already on to him. The first day they cleared the boyfriend, and then they were on to him.
At the very least, he's rotting in his cell and
yes.
doesn't have contact with anyone. So, good riddance.
Yes.
Good riddance.
And then people talk trash about him on the radio. Right. Yes.
And that's the story of Jodi LeAnn Sanderholm.
Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. It's very uncommon for us to talk about that particular part of the world, that sort of where Kansas and Texas and Oklahoma and Arkansas all kind of meet together, where it's this beautiful forested area. No one ever talks about it. Everybody thinks it's all deserty. It's not. It's lovely.
Well, it's funny that you say that. I just came across a website earlier this week, and I'll be using it for research. But it was a website that highlighted a serial killer from every single state.
Oh, wow.
So every single state has one. I was not aware that every single state has one, but they do. So
kind of spooky.
Yes. Some of them we've already covered, and I won't cover those again, but it did give some research for
you've got a whole new venue.
I was going to say he's got the next 50 episodes lined up.
Yes, he does.
Well, not 50 because I've covered some of them already, like Dean Coral from Texas. So I'd already covered him.
That boathouse was full of bodies.
Yeah, Israel Keys from New Jersey. I covered him. I've done several. So, but I wasn't aware that every single state had a serial killer in it. That was. We did Nanny Doss, and that was on the list. So,
well, let's just say you have a handy checklist then.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I do, and I've got several websites that I get updates on in my email on true crime stuff, and it's like, oh, hey, that sounds like an interesting story, and that's where I start beginning my research and everything. So. Cool. Well, awesome. Well, Keith, we appreciate you joining us for another week. We really, really appreciate you coming on and talking diplomacy with us, and of course, every other thing that we talked about too, which we railed several times.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, you should come on for the next one. Just saying.
Okay, I'll be around.
All right, good deal.
So with that'll take us to the end of another recording week. As always, you can find our information on nerderymurdery.com. That's the hub for everything, where you can see links to this episode, pictures of the things we talked about. You can also find the link to our YouTube that Zig does.
That's right. We've got a YouTube playlist for every single episode. And once we get we get past the release date, this video will be part of that YouTube playlist as well. But you can go and look at it beforehand so you kind of know what we're talking about.
Yeah. That's awesome. You can also find the link to our merchandise page, which if you wish to show off your nerdery and murdery fandom, please do consider purchasing something there. And if you wish to donate to the show, help us with our costs to keep us going, because the costs for this show do not go to our Lamborghinis we don't own, the vacations we don't take, and the mansions we don't live in.
That's right.
So we do appreciate each and one of our patrons. Please and thank you. Please and thank you. And last but not least, please don't forget to leave a 5-star review wherever you can. It really helps us and helps others that might be looking for the content that we're talking about. So with that,
I have been Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your murdery.
Cue the music.